Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. So let's move on to kind of the chief tactical findings, the main takeaways from the survey, and the things that are really kind of the must-dos that local SEOs need to be aware of. Also, we were going to talk about what are some of the things that might make a difference beyond those, and also some things further down the list that people might not pay attention to that might be important to be aware of. So, So give us a sense of what are the top, kind of the highest level tactical takeaways from the survey.
Yes. So one of the things that's always interesting about the survey is how the most impactful things tend to always stay at the top. And we're seeing that again this year. So it's things like, setting your primary category on your Google business profile. It was number one factor last year. It's number one factor this year. Having keywords in the business name, very important factor, has a huge impact on local rankings. Proximity to the searcher, another massive factor. Having good Google ratings, adding additional categories, having lots of Google reviews, keywords in the landing page title tag, those kinds of things are basically table stakes, and they tend to be at the top of this list every year. But there were a few interesting movers and shakers that did move into this list. One of the ones I really want to talk about is this removal of listings through spam fighting. In the 2021 survey, this came in as factor number 10. This year it came in as factor number 5. And so I don't actually think it's more effective. And so when you see that, you might think, oh, wow, it's more valuable and important than ever. But it's not actually the fact. That's not actually the case. I think what's happening here is, as I mentioned earlier, the survey has been restructured. And so before, when people used to drag their top 20 factors, this one just kind of got left out of most people's top 20. But now you had to actually give this factor a score. And it makes a lot of sense. Like, if you are able to remove a competitor above you, what is the ranking impact of that? It's significant, because then they're gone, you move up. It's like this very significant ranking factor. And so if you have to score that one, then you'll actually see that, well, it does have a positive impact when it works. So that's actually, this movement is just a reflection of the new structure of the survey. And so we'll see how that changes next year and in following years.
One of the things I thought was interesting about that particular one is that it is transactional in the sense that an agency can perform that on behalf of the business, much like helping with reviews, right? There's not a lot in the top 10 that are transactional or service driven. So besides getting rid of spam and helping a business get more reviews. I mean, once you set a category, categories are largely set unless you're in a seasonal business. And once you're verified, obviously you've verified. So those are not particularly interesting once you've done them.
So spam fighting is one of those things that it is transactional. It's this thing you can roll into your agency as an ongoing service, generating more reviews, responding to reviews, continuing to do Google posts, and spam fighting. That is actually part of our service at White Spark. So it's one of those great things that you can keep doing for clients.
I want to just come back to the keyword stuffing in the business name for a second. So this is something that people say really works, and I think it's a bad practice. To be calling your business something that you think Google is going to reward because it's resembles some sort of query, some keyword string. I just think this is just my little editorial comment. I think that's bad. Yeah. That's like the Yellow Pages days where people would say a plumbing, blah, 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 just to be at the top of the front of the book. And I just think it's a bad practice as a general matter.
Yeah, so it's really important to speak to this. So the problem with the survey is that it's what impact rankings?
Right.
That's what we're asking. What impacts rankings? Well,
and that's what people want to know. They want to know practical information.
And so Google has created this problem by giving so much ranking impact to the keywords in the business name that business owners are naturally going to try and manipulate that. And it is a tool that they can use to actually improve their rankings and improve their rankings significantly. And so keyword stuffing is rampant, and Google does not police it. The best approach, of course, is to actually rebrand your name in a careful way, in a way that doesn't make you look stupid in 5 years if someone looked at your name.
Right. Dentist near me.
Yeah, exactly. So don't do that. But it is useful to get some keywords in your business name rather than just having a completely branded name, like let's say White Spark. Like, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything, right? But let's say we called our business White Spark. If I still cared about Edmonton Web Design, White Spark Edmonton Web Design. Like, I would actually rebrand. I'd go to Google or go to the Secretary of State, change my name there, change the logo, change it on our website. And then that way I would get the benefits of it, and it would actually be our brand name, and it would be legal within Google's guidelines.
At a meta level, this trend at Google often even confuses Google. Like, if you look in certain industries and you search on self-storage, so many businesses are named self-storage. They think that they deliver a brand result instead of unique individual listings. So it's gotten to the point where, and this has always been that way, but it's gotten in more industries. So it ends up looking dumb. It also ends up reducing the types of results you get because Google doesn't fully understand them as unique. There is some balance. I mean, I think that you can have a creative name that helps a user understand what you do, but it can be overbearing in many industries.
Well, just the final sort of point I would make is that, in traditional branding, you want the brand to be distinctive and memorable. And the idea of keyword stuffing is going in the opposite direction, right? I mean, White Spark is a much more distinctive brand than Edmonton Web Design is,
right?
And it makes you more generic. I mean, this is your point to some degree about self-storage, Mike. It kind of undermines the brand value of the business name if you're really doing that, if you're really doing the keyword stuffing. But let's talk about Mike.
So the question though is, if you ran a marijuana business, would you rather be named something that has the word cannabis in it, or something that starts with, say, Cloud9, right? I mean, or do you do some mix? I mean, it's an interesting question that I think that a business should address early on and devote themselves to the outcome, whatever that is, right?
I mean, what you want to do is you want to create a brand that's so strong that people are searching directly for your brand, and you don't have to deal with category searches and all the nonsense that we're talking about. Okay, so let's in the green room, Mike, you said that the top of that list, the top ranking factors are really table stakes, and that you wanted to explore what you call difference makers. So, say some more about that, and Darren can respond.
Well, I think that as I looked through the list, it became clear that probably 7 or 8 or maybe 9 of those items were just things you had to do every time. And once they're done, they're done. And so I was curious about the next, after 10, 11 through, say, 40, which of those items did Darren think personally, and from his experience, have the most impact on results, and also which of those were ongoing services that an agency could bake into the process?
Yeah, so there's a lot of really good factors outside of the top 10. So I agree with you, Mike, that the top 10 is a lot of table stake stuff. A lot of it really comes down to your website. And so that is things like having a dedicated page for each service. That's factor number 14. That is a super valuable, important thing to do. That is definitely something an agency can continue working on. You break down the primary services into sub-services and build a whole network of pages that are speaking to all the different topics that you want to rank for. So that is super valuable. A sustained influx of reviews over time, that is factor number 13. And that factor is very interesting because some businesses will just blast out to their mailing list, hey, leave us a review. And they just do that every 6 months or something. That's terrible practice. So this is like making sure that you have an ongoing strategy for generating reviews and that you continue to work it. I think that's a very important thing. And like these really are, to your point, more important than some of the things in the top 10. Like these are the things that are really going to move the needle and be competitive difference makers over time. Another one is number 18, internal linking across the entire website. This is a tactic that has been slept on for years. People are really starting to wake up to it now. But I've been hearing a lot of people say that Google doesn't differentiate from a link on a page that's off of your domain compared to a page that's on your domain. So you trying to build a link to your website is very hard, or to a page. You want to build a link from someone else's website over to yours. That's great if you can get it. But you actually have hundreds of pages in the case of most websites at your control that you can internally link to your other pages. So if you want your service page on, let's say it was a dentist, their Invisalign page, right? You already have 100 pages at your disposal. Look for an opportunity to link to that page. And we're not talking about navigation links. We're talking about in-content links. And so
particularly high up, first couple paragraphs.
Exactly. That's where you get this powerful link benefit. And so like you have all of these pages that you can control. You can build those links. So internal linking is a tactic that is really growing in importance and value, but don't miss it because it's number 18 on my list. So I actually think that the factors between 10 and 30 are very interesting and ones that people should be paying attention to.
So I had one other question along these lines. And when I read through the list, got down to 60, 70, there were some things that I would consider items that were buried. I'm curious what you thought about the further down the list beyond 40, if there was any that stood out to you as dark horses, items that maybe got lumped together with other items and maybe there was a nugget within it that would be valuable as opposed to the broader category.
Yeah, I actually think 71 is one of those. So factor 71 is volume of content on GBP landing page. And I actually think this is an interesting thing because a lot of people, your GBP landing page in most cases is either a home page or it's a location page if you're a multi-location brand. And if you look at most multi-location brands, they have a real garbage location page with no content on it. It's got like hours of operation. It's got, a little form and maybe an embedded Google map, but typically not a lot of content. And so this is a real opportunity for multi-location brands to beef up that content. You can look at REI, you can look at Home Depot, you can see brands that are doing it really well, and they are reaping the benefits of factor number 71, that volume of content.
So those would alternately be described as local landing pages. That's another way to sort of look at those.
Yeah, totally. In the multi-location realm, those would be location landing pages. But another one is pretty common is that a lot of people don't want to stuff their homepage with content. It's just like their homepage is a funnel to the rest of their site. And I think that that's a bit of a missed opportunity. You really do want to take some time to add some real content to your homepage because it is the page that your Google Business Profile is linking to. And that is the key page that Google is trying to understand what your business is about. They will look at the rest of your whole site. They do crawl your whole site, but that landing page, which in most small businesses, they're going to link their Google Business Profile to the homepage. That page needs content. You need to tell Google who you are, what you do, why you're the best at it. Like build that page out and you'll reap some rewards. So 71 is one that a lot of people might miss, but it's very valuable to invest in.
I mean, there's some very interesting kind of implications here that maybe is for another time about web design that come out of this, right? I mean, I think there's some web design best practices that may not entirely align with some of these ranking factors that you're talking about. And the kind of putting more content on your homepage is one of those ideas. I mean, I think people like the idea of a very clean, Spartan homepage with some images and maybe a little bit of text and some logos. And then that's the front door that unlocks all the different, relevant areas to people. But you're saying something quite different there. And there's some interesting implications, I think, from this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another one, which is huge, and it's really bad timing because factor 81 is presence of GBP services. And so when I sent this survey out, it was like, everyone completed the survey, was past the deadline. And then a week later, Sterling Sky and Joy Hawkins published their research that adding predefined services to your Google Business Profile has a direct impact on rankings for those services. Now, it's hit or miss. Not all the services you're going to see this big boost, but I'm running some studies now and I'm seeing the impact. It is powerful. And so this is a factor that's sitting way down at number 81. But I bet you if I had asked the participants like 2 weeks after Joy had published that, this factor would be way through the roof.
Oh, for sure.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.